4 years ago, in an attempt to escape my brand new modern apartment, I decided to start renovating this abandoned building that used to be a store. I began by just cutting grass and cleaning the walls, and after around 6 episodes, most of the basic necessities for living there were there, so I was able to move in. And as I was living there, I kept on improving it little by little. Eventually, even renovating the huge room that was full of various treasures, but something I never touched was the basement. And this basement is huge, it's the same size as the building itself, and it has pretty much been untouched for decades, which means that it has an incredible amount of moisture damage, to the extent that in one of the rooms, the concrete ceiling is starting to fall apart, and all the furniture that was left there is a health hazard and needs to be removed. And lately, I've also been really wondering what would this basement look like if I were to empty it out and clean it. And actually, now there's even a practical reason why it needs to be renovated. Last year, I carried this second-hand pellet boiler down here, and I need to hire someone who knows how to install the entire central heating system properly. But for that, I first want to make the basement a bit cleaner, as otherwise it's not going to be very nice to work down here. So, in this video, I would like to do all of that and find out what the final result is going to look like. Oh yeah, and there's also this safe here. And of course, it was locked. So I was hoping that the key was somewhere in this basement, and I figured that the most logical place to leave it when you abandon it for 30 years would be on top of the safe. But I guess life happened there, and I instead discovered a graveyard. So maybe it's instead on top of one of these window holes. Not here, I guess. Not here either. Maybe here. Okay, there's probably no key here, to be honest. Whoa! There's 3 keys here. And a shot glass. And a milk jug, apparently.
No.
Unsurprisingly, those keys didn't fit the safe, so my next plan was to search for it by just clearing out everything from this corridor and hopefully find it during the process. I did not find a key. However, what I did find is...次の部屋はこちらとなります。じゃがいも部屋です。そう、この部屋はじゃがいもを保存する部屋として知られております。しかし、妙なことに今のところじゃがいもが1個も見当たりません。一体なぜなのでしょうか。コーキーコーラ、コーキーコーラ。
Hello guys. How are you? I am in the basement. I think I figured out why the ceiling of this room is rotting. There is a ventilation hole that has been buried with dirt. I will now remove the dirt. Oh no. So dirty. Ooh, dirt is dirty. It is blocked from above. I shall clear it. I did it. I shall remove the leaves from the window area for additional ventilation. It is done. It is free now. It can finally breathe. I have served my purpose. I am no longer necessary.
It's kind of dark in this room, so I want to change this light, but I remember I couldn't open it. And I think I can now. Oh, worry not. I have a brand new one right here. the next thing I needed to do was to disassemble and remove all of these shelves from this room, which is something I wanted to do for years, not only because I imagined that it would be really transformative, but also because they're so moldy that they obviously need to go. Now, because they've been sitting in the moistest room in the building for nearly 40 years, I expected them to basically collapse on touch, but to my surprise, they were sturdier than even brand new furniture. The panels were composed of basically actual wood, which is also why they were so heavy, and they were held together by robust nuts and bolts, so even with this epic sledgehammer I found last year, destroying them wasn't easy. But eventually, I found all the critical hit locations, which made the process pretty linear. The main reason it was annoying was because I was still sick, so I felt very weak and my throat hurt really bad. Next, I decided to get rid of the potato storage, which instead of potatoes was storing various other objects including chemicals such as antifreeze, white spirit, just some empty bottles, paint thinner, presumably, as well as some interesting curved glass that was brand new. I'm not sure what they're for, but I'd really like to know because they're really specific and it would be interesting if they were like rare original parts for a bus or something. Then there was some random metal, as well as potential welding material for my non-existent welding projects, some kind of a pump, presumably for spraying pesticide or something, some riot shield looking thing, extra windows for the basement, a cool looking medium-sized milk bucket, a ton of paper, some kinda cool rectangular flower vases made from glass. Not really sure what these are, but they cost 3 Estonian crowns, an old robust woodworking plane, with some wooden construction next to it that slid around. It also had this metal slit in the middle, so maybe it's for peeling multiple potatoes at once or something, I have no clue honestly. And there was also this retro thermos, which was kinda charming. And of course, the 30-year-old pickles that I do not recommend you eat, but they actually tasted totally fine. Now, a part of me did feel like perhaps I shouldn't destroy this potato storage, considering how much effort it probably took to build and how it was still seemingly totally fine. But unlike the moldy shelves, turned out that the wood of this construction was so brittle that it was very easy to break the planks into pieces. And at the end of the day, I'm probably never going to use it for storing anything anyway, so it will just keep on rotting here until it becomes an actual health hazard. Moreover, whenever I free up space that was occupied by unusable junk, new opportunities arise, which is why it's exciting to see what the basement is going to look like when it's completely empty. But ironically, this whole time I had just been moving everything from one room to the other, so by now, the first room was so full that you could barely walk there. Getting rid of junk like this is complicated in the sense that I can't just throw everything out the window. Usually what I've done is bring everything to recycling centers, but this is probably too much for that, so for the first time ever, I ordered a 7 cubic meter container, which cost 300 euros.
Yay! Can you get through the fortress of doors, Batman?
I started filling it with disassembled furniture, and I tried using the space efficiently because it really seemed suspicious whether or not the entire basement was going to fit in this single container. I found a bunch of cassette tapes in this drawer, and those of you who have seen the earlier episodes might remember the reason why they're here. Namely, this room with the reverb dampening door used to be a studio for band practice. I have a vague memory of what it used to look like, and I feel like it was pretty cozy with a fireplace and everything. I also found some musical equipment manuals, handwritten sheet music. Are these parking sensors? Some notes and notepads, floppy disks, presumably unused camera roll, and an unopened pack of retro razor blades, which I'm not going to be using. Even more cassette tapes, but actually I think all of those were just empty shells. And on another shelf, I found even more audio equipment such as cables, speakers, as well as these interesting headphones. Right next to some cup and whatever this was. I also found this random box next to the staircase, and it was full of these interesting tubes. I wasn't really sure what they were. Their texture reminded me of crayons, but they were a bit too big for that, so I looked into it and turned out that this is ski wax, which I guess kinda makes sense because there also are some old skis here which are kinda neat. I also found this old vodka bottle and this interesting bottle cap, and even more unused wallpaper. Right next to a huge, heavy roll of regular paper, and I think by now I've in total found over a few hundred kilograms of paper across this entire series. Then there was this drawer, and oh my god, there's probably a key to every single lock in the universe here, including the safe, but for the time being, I wanted to get rid of the table, because underneath it was covered in black mold.
We are going to Brazil.
I also found a couple of lizards from where the table was. I always kinda liked lizards, so I was glad that they were still moving decently energetically, and I brought them outside and poured some water for them so they could go swimming.
Just got bit by a hornet. Yay, turds.
So at this point I had removed all the furniture, and just from that alone, the container already started getting kind of full, which was pretty concerning considering that I still had this much junk left in the room. So after racking up over 15,000 daily steps going up and down the stairs carrying these things into the container for multiple days straight, I was finally able to fill it to the brim. Now, I probably could have fit a bunch of additional tiny objects in here if I really wanted to, but there just wasn't much time left for the container, and I already accomplished what I set out to achieve. Namely, the basement was now empty. For the most part. And the way I was able to fit everything in this container was by keeping the metal, because not only would it have taken way too much space, but scrap metal can also be sold to recycling centers, as well as be used for all of those welding projects that I don't have time for. Occasionally, I did contemplate whether or not I should throw certain things away, like these glass panels as well as these tiny mirror tiles, but in the end, I decided to get rid of them because, to be honest, I'm probably not going to be using them anywhere, and you truly have to be brutal when it comes to throwing things away, as otherwise you won't get anywhere. As the final touch, I scraped the walls and wiped the floors, and it turned the corridor from a horror scene to a kind of a cozy horror scene. Without a doubt, this basement is now way less spooky than it was before, and I'm very satisfied with the result. I actually considered painting the walls as well, but that's probably not a good idea for now, because the areas where the ceiling has these exposed metal pipes leak a little bit of water during heavy rain because it seeps through the pavement tiles above, which is also something that eventually needs to be dealt with. It's a bit unfortunate because there is this little turn at the end of the corridor here that has a staircase leading back to the living room that's currently blocked. And I've had this idea that it would be cool to turn it into a little cozy storage area, but yeah, for that everything would need to be dry and warm. I also decided to keep the potato room as is for now because, one, I don't have anywhere to put these wooden planks, but also because I could probably burn them in the fireplace during winter, so moving them far away seems like unnecessary labor, especially because I don't even have any plans for this room for the time being. Nor for the main room for that matter, and I'm probably not going to have any plans until there is at least some form of central heating in here, which is going to be the next very expensive focus. Although that's most likely only going to be heating the living area, because even though ideally I would need to heat the entire building, including the basement, to prevent everything from rotting and corroding and therefore make it actually usable, heating everything, even to a low temperature, will potentially add thousands to the heating bill each year, so I'm not sure if that's ever going to happen. Therefore, I'm also not sure whether or not this basement is ever going to have any actual use before this series ends. However, there is a small chance that perhaps the pellet boiler itself, during operation, will emit enough heat to dry out the room where it's located to the extent that I could at least store some tools here or something without them rusting away. I'm honestly not sure if that's going to happen, but that would be super nice because then I could put my welding machine here and so on. And all in all, I'm still very glad that the basement got a makeover because it still feels like it has so much more potential than it did before, but also because it's just nice to know that the room below me is for the very least not a health hazard anymore. In reality though, emptying out the basement was only the beginning. The attic, the shed, the other shed, the basement of the other shed, and the entire yard still need to be cleared out, and now that I have experience dealing with containers, I feel more optimistic that this place can indeed be transformed. So subscribe if you want to see whether or not that actually ever happens. To be honest, even I'm not sure yet. But what I am sure about is that the next episode will feature an incredibly life-changing advancement that I've been wanting for years. Oh yeah, and I started a website where you can support the channel so I don't go bankrupt, as well as get bonus content in return, including an extra vlog for this video. Maybe I should actually add a goal to pay for my winter heating bill or something. Actually, fuck it, I'm gonna do that. Boom. It's live now. But anyway, the only thing left to do now was to find the correct key to the safe.